Yo, 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 boopy doop boop. Stowaway in from an African land, chased out with a knife, with a face like Bob Marley and a mouth like a motorbike. Oh, where the bars are always open, and the time is always right. And if God's good words go unspoken, the music goes all night, and it goes. If I was Bob Marley, I said, would I be loved? And if I was half pint, I would would up a dub. And if I was Mike Tyson, I would look for a fight. And if I was a big crowd, I would be staying up all night. If I was a king of rock, I would get stupider. And if rhymes were volumes, I would be completely numb. If I had a shotgun, you know what I'd do? Well, I'd point that shit straight at the sky and shoot heaven on down for you because the bars are always open and the time is always right. And if God's good works go unspoken, then the music goes all night and it goes. I want to love her, but I can't find the time. I want a reason, but I can't find the rhyme, and I want to start some static, but I can't afford to be stringing to the ground like I fall off my skateboard. And nowadays, it's clear as you please. You're strapped with protection or struck with disease. Laughter, it's free. Anytime, just call Blizzy 439 116. When you're down with Blizzy, you get funky fresh, get nothing stolen from Africa land. I'm chased out of the bar. Oh, ice is my best friend tonight, so don't push me too far. Yo, 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 what it do's, YouTubes? What it do? Salute to you guys and welcome in. My name is Blazey Blind. Man, I'm telling you, I uh like completely caught off guard by the desire to stream this morning. I'm waiting for something right now and patiently waiting, and I decided to listen to Reslas last live stream, and there's a lot in there that I feel like people can benefit from, that I can benefit from, that I also wanted to possibly add my own 2 cents to. So much, man. And I have to say this, like, I don't know why wrestler doesn't seem to take take me seriously when I say this, man. But like, I have zero interest in undermining wrestler and throwing any shade at wrestler. And when I discuss something that he's discussed, it isn't to undermine, it isn't to correct or to say I'm right or I'm smart or anything like that. It's simply to platform the message and add my perspective. That's the reason why I have like, and we're gonna get to a lot. There's a whole bunch of like very interesting stuff that he talks about in this last live stream, man. And I'm just gonna get right to it. We're gonna start right at the beginning.
I want to talk about something tonight. Tonight, I want to I want to talk about unfair advantages. And here's the thing: everybody has them, and I already know. I already know that the phrase is actually going to make some people feel uncomfortable because people hear unfair advantages and immediately they think of you are talking about people who are like they do grimy stuff, right? And that's not exactly what I'm talking about. I'm talking about
Okay, now and again, I have to reiterate, man, before like, cause and I'm still half asleep, but like I said, I'm waiting on something, and I just so happen to put this on, and so many very interesting uh things Wrestler talked about that I felt like I wanted to discuss also, or add my 2 cents in where I can. But again, I have to say, if I like I have to like I have to make this like fully established as I begin this. I respect wrestler more than probably anybody in this space when it comes to his mentality, and I don't, anything that I say, anything, whether it be in contradiction to something he's saying, whether it be in conjunction with something he's saying, whether it be just completely opposed to what he's saying, it is all with complete respect, and I'm simply giving my perspective. I don't do this to undermine him, to disrespect him, or anything like that. I want to make that completely clear. Now, out the gate, he said, okay, he's talking about unfair advantages, and we have heard wrestlers say this, that he doesn't think that it is bad to take advantage of, and it's debatable, right? To take advantage of opportunities, or take advantage of people. He said his mindset is that it becomes detrimental when they take them for granted, not necessarily taking advantage of them, which is kind of what life is, right? We take advantage of what we can.
About leverage. When I'm talking about taking advantage of your taking advantage of your taking your taking unfair advantages for granted, like you really leverage the shit out of them. Because a lot of people don't think about, they think about their advantages, but they don't really think about their unfair advantages as well. I'm talking about the things that you already have, that you can already move forward in life, but for some reason you keep treating it like they don't really matter, because they don't look like something that you can use, or something that you.
Now, immediately, man, I have to make a little bit of commentary on this. Is, and I think a lot of people have this thing towards wrestler, to where they feel like as if wrestler is giving them a prescription for how to make their life better. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily the case, but it definitely can come off like that. The thing is that people, and this is all just my opinion, there there are tons of reasons why people don't exploit all the advantages that they have. Whether it be negative reasons, positive reasons, moral reasons, ethical reasons, or whatnot. I always want to, and I can never find a way to ask a wrestler this in a proper way. But what is the barometer for these things that wrestler is measuring? Is it contentment? Is there some goal that he is saying, because he's saying from an outsider's perspective, looking at a third party, saying that person or that group of people, or that let's just say that abstract uh noun or whatever, has advantages that it could be exploiting to get ahead. And you see, the only reason why I bring this up is because when you operate from a mindset of I know what you could be doing to get ahead. It and this is sometimes what creates that energy where people feel like wrestlers judging and being overly critical of things that don't necessarily involve or like don't necessarily uh pertain to him.
You see, or that's something that you think someone else will look at as an
And again, I don't, I please, and wrestler, if you hear this, please, bro, do not think for a second that I'm denigrating or down talking any of that. I'm simply addressing the optics as you lay out what you're laying out, because I've listened to about 15 minutes of this, maybe more, and there's a whole bunch of wisdom in all of this. I'm just simply giving my perspective, because you're presenting the idea of like there are these groups of people that don't fully exploit the advantages that they have and when they could be to have a better life. But the question always becomes when you make an argument like that, or when you make any kind of point like that, is better to whom, and better by what standard, and better to whose measurement.
advantage. And you many people say this for many different reasons. The topic is normally because life is not fair. And you're right. Life is not fair. We all know this. Some people have money, some people have connections, some people they're just born attractive. Some people are naturally likable. Some people are born into families that teach them about how the world is before they even get old enough to really understand what they're being handed.
Thanks.
Then there's other people who were born into confusion. They got to figure things out. They got to figure out the basics, and often figuring out the basics late. They do not know the right people. They don't have somebody making calls for them. They don't have a soft place to land when some shit goes wrong. Both of these things are real. I say for so long for so many different people that we're not all born in the same space in the race. Even though people want to say that we're all equal, we're not all delivered in the equal space. Both of these things are real. Two things can be true at the same time. This is why we have good and evil. They can both exist. It's not just one or the other, even though people like to pretend that there is. But after you say life is unfair, right? What do you do next? What exactly do you do next? Because this is where I think people get stuck. They can explain everybody who has.
Well, before we get to that, I want to say that that wrestler and what he was just describing before he got to the part where he says that life is unfair, like that right there, in my opinion, is like prime wrestler message. Like everything he said right there, man, is a beautiful, empirically true message that life is not fair, that life is not even, that is life is not that gifts and abilities are not handed out with any kind of sense of fairness. And that's true, and it would benefit everybody and anybody to accept that quicker than rather than later in their life. The the part where I don't think wrestler even considers uh sometimes I wonder is, take the two words content, the word content and the word complacent. The only dividing line between the words content and complacent is connotation. And if you don't know what I mean by that, I mean that it's all a matter of perspective. Because to one person, their contentment can be considered complacency to somebody that doesn't think that they've accomplished enough. You know what I mean? And this is the reason why I don't have, if you know, guys notice, I don't have uh, some people discussions. I don't like to have some people discussions. I don't like to have discussions about some people and what some people do, is because unless it specifically pertains to me, then I honestly don't know. And as a third party, you never do. So like, and I'm only pointing this out because this is like one of the, in my opinion, this is one of the things that has people have such a reaction to, because Res's message, man, is oftentimes very wise and very true and very helpful, but because people feel like it nobody wants to be given a prescription of how to make their life better by people on the internet. Like let's just uh acknowledge that, like, right off the bat, unless they're like specifically going to search that up. And a lot of times it can come off that way whenever you're, especially when you are still adjacent to the people that you are that you're levying excuse me, when you're still sitting adjacent to the people that you're levying the critique of.
Has an advantage, but they for some reason can't explain their own advantages. Even the thing that they look at as a disadvantage, an unfair skill, is really an advantage that they're not taking advantage of. They're not looking at it as the potential, as a gift, as something that they have that other people don't. They know exactly.
And just to extenuate his point a little bit, and this is the thing is that you can never know what is on somebody's heart, man. So like, from an outsider's perspective, like let's say that we're on the outside and we're looking at Forrest Gump, the movie Forrest Gump, and we're looking at this character, and me and Resla are on the outside and we're discussing it, and I'm like, man, dude don't even realize it, but he's a hell of a football player. If you ever seen the movie Forrest Gump, you know what I mean when I say that. And Resla's like, shit, yeah, that's something, but what he really don't realize is he's a hell of a shrimp boat captain. And we could both write entire dissertations, we could both write entire books on how Forrest Gump is missing the forest for the trees because he's focused on Jenny instead of being a football player or being a shrimp boat captain. And then life can run its course and end, and then at the end of it all, we could all three have a conversation, and me and Resta could make our point, and Forrest Gump could look at us and say, well, what you don't realize is that my biggest leverage or my biggest advantage is my ability not to have to participate in the common rat race or whatever. And that supersedes all of what we're talking about, because if you can take yourself out of the social whatever, then you don't even have to worry about that other stuff. So it's like you don't ever actually know unless you are that person. Unless I hope that properly displays what I'm trying to say.
why someone else can get ahead, but they have really no idea what they personally have that they can use. And sometimes I think the reason is really simple. Your advantages feel normal only to you because you're not showcasing them to other people. Now, I'm when I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about a couple of things. I'm thinking about the adult world for one. And the adult world is not school. The world is not waiting to make sure that everybody gets called on, that nobody's going to be checking up on the rules, where everybody is evenly gets shit explained to. Some people are going to learn the game early, and some people are going to learn that shit really late. That doesn't remove responsibility though, because things are going to happen and they're going to change all the time. And for some reason, we're not really told that, whether it's through our teachers or people who are guardians who are outside of them, or even our parents, that they're not really telling us how honest, they're not really being honest with the conversation that we should be having coming up, and how ruthless those conversations need to be. You know, Tony Robbins said something that I thought was
I think this is just straight bars right here. I mean, I can't even I can't even add anything to what he's saying. I think that he's just straight spitting wisdom right here.
very interesting. And while I'm pretty sure no one uses this tactic, it's telling people very early in their life that the moment you're born, you begin to die. I think a lot of people don't really have a, even now, even as adults, people don't have a strong concept of death, which is crazy. People just like loaf around and just waste their time. Now, there are also people, there are people who hate admiring advantages that matter. You know, people people want their success.
I don't know if he's talking about humility right there. If he's talking about humility, he says people who hate admiring advantages that matter. I think he's talking about the way that people choose to be humble rather than forthcoming about particular advantages that they may have, or maybe oblivious.
People want to talk about other people. They want to bring up success stories. They want to make them sound great and clean. What's good, OG? And then they want effort. They want effort to be the entire explanation for the story. But effort is usually mixed with timing. Timing, access, personality is a very big one. Family, your looks, yes, your looks, your location, when you were born.
You see, that's so true. It makes me wonder. It makes me wonder who Wrestler is thinking of whenever he says this, because what he said right there is so true. It's so true, man. That it's honestly a once in a lifetime deal for all of those things to line up. And you can't coach somebody into all of those things lining up. You can coach them into being prepared for when they do, but you can't, honestly, man, you can't tip the scales in any favor. Like that just happens when it happens. So like, but it is so all of those factors are so far apart, and the chances of them all aligning for you, because what are we talking about, like what are we talking about? He said grown up life, so we're talking about uh marriage and employment and responsibilities. I mean, or are we talking about achieving greatness? Or are we talking about achieving the peak of your potential? I mean, honestly, I wish that, and I know that I've tried to have some of these conversations with Resla, and I I feel like he thinks that I am criticizing when I'm not, so he wouldn't answer some of these questions if I was to ask. But I wish I could know more specifically what it is that he's talking about. You know,
And this is all encompassing something that we all call luck. Your advantages, maybe the thing that you need to be looking at and thinking more about if they're really beneficial to you. Because I think a lot of people look at their skills or they look at some of the things that they're really good at and they don't see it. They don't see them as an advantage. They look at their skills and they go, yeah, I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed by it. And I'm like,
that's true, but it's almost like as if he's not considering the fact that people's goals differ. Man, I mean, I'm one of those people that my goals, and I don't even really talk about like my actual real goals and stuff because it's very private. But I don't have the same goals uh, as a average person, and I know many people who have many varying different goals or like perfect world outcomes in their mind than others. So it's like that's going to be the biggest factor in this to me, or in this kind of discussion, is what is the desired outcome? Are we talking about just making money? Like, is that what we're talking about? Is just making money?
that's a damn shame. Because if you find something that you're really good at, you should find a way to leverage it. If you have something that you're good at, you should be finding a way to at least try to leverage it. And when I say leverage it, it doesn't mean it's going to make you a shit ton of money or whatever the case may be, but that doesn't mean that it's a skill that everybody has and you should be using that skill to the best of your ability. Having something that someone else could use.
You know what? This is just my opinion, and uh, I say this from a first person perspective as a person that is multi talented or whatever. I have many different skills. Um, in my experience in life, it isn't the talents or skills or abilities are rare amongst individual people. It's that a person that is usually good at one thing is usually good at a few things. So, like, a lot of times, a lot of times, the reward for pursuing a certain what you would consider an advantage, a lot of times that reward is not worth the, how do they say, the milk is not worth the squeeze for that particular endeavor. And what I mean by that is, let's say Ressa saying, like, let's put it in hype, let's analogize this and say, okay, let's say we're looking at just a generic high school class, and Resla says, okay, man, that guy Bob is really good at football, man, or really good at uh, soccer or something. Well, the thing is that like soccer is not going to get like depending on what your goal is. Like if your goal is a peaceful, quiet, calm, happy life without a lot of chaos and more peace and stability than anything, soccer isn't going to necessarily get you to that faster than some type of upward mobility within a tech company or within a office whatever office type company. So it's like to Bob, leveraging those advantages could end up being more trouble than what they're worth. Excuse me. And I'm only saying like I'm only giving my opinion about this because it sounds like Reslas is like genuinely perplexed about why someone wouldn't leverage an advantage. And I'm just giving my perspective on why that might be the case, why somebody might forego cashing in on a perceived advantage.
Use is better than you not using it at all. Being useful is important. So your advantage may not look impressive, but that doesn't mean that you can't do anything with it. Some people can talk, some people talk really, really well. Some people can listen very well. Some people are very steady. Like shit happens around them, chaos comes through, and they're very calm. Some people just recover very quickly because they just get over things real fast. Some people are very good at noticing patterns, and some people are just easily trusted. These are advantages too. I think a lot of people need to stop.
I agree. I agree. I would just add that, in my opinion, from my experience in life, uh, it's not it's not sprinkled evenly amongst people. Like usually, if a person is good at one of those or advantaged in one of those, uh, you might oftentimes find that they are advantaged in multiple. As a matter of fact, I remember reading. I don't remember exactly. It wasn't like a scientific journal or nothing, but I remember reading some statistic where uh, they said that that like historically people have always said, oh well, you either get the brains or you get the beauty, but like the actual studies show that's actually not the case. That more oftentimes than not, the people that are better looking are oftentimes more intelligent. And in my opinion, that I think the two are linked. I think ability, I think capacity, understanding, ability, processing, power, and stuff like that. I think that that's all intertwined. So, and I only say that to say that like not everybody has advantages like that. Some people have more disadvantages than advantages. You know.
Building their lives around what they lack and start thinking about the things that they actually have and start building around that. I'm a big
No, that right there, I'm gonna rewind it. That's probably the most important thing that I think he says in the whole, or like the most important message in this whole intro right there, man, is that people do need to be more focused on what we have rather than what we don't have. See, that's the downfall of our society, man, is that we have shifted into this mindset of jealousy and detriment. We're in a constant state of what do I not have and what does that other person have, or what does, like as soon as we meet somebody, as soon as we speak to somebody, like you're immediately gauging what this person's has and what their value is to you monetarily, almost, man. It's crazy. But let me wind it.
Proponent of being their lives around what they lack and start thinking about the things that they actually have. Good at noticing patterns. And some people are just easily trusted. These are advantages too. I think a lot of people need to stop building their lives around what they lack and start thinking about the things that they actually have and start building around that. I'm a big proponent of doubling down on your strengths and not focusing so much on your weaknesses. People say like, wrestler at some point, you know, I have to stop obsessing over what I do, what I don't have, and start obsessing over the things that I can actually use. And I go, absolutely. But how many people come to that realization? Some people, but not a lot. And I'm actually really surprised when it comes to that. I hear a lot of people that want to do things or they have goals or they have ambitions, but when it comes to them actually making steps, you don't hear a lot about that. Then you hear like it's money, it's time, it's all the other stuff. I'm like, the only thing you got is time. And that means you got to give up sleep or whatever. Sometimes you're gonna have to just be dog tired.
Just a little word to the wise: if you have actual ambitions, goals, or any kind of anything that you're working on, don't even share it with anybody until it's already done. Like, especially online, man. This is there's everybody's so evil, man. Everybody's so evil. Everybody's just overcome with evil online. All everybody, man. And I have the tendency to behave like that too. Whether it's of an absent mind or whether it's from some other ugly whatever. But like, if something matters to you, don't share it with nobody. That's my outlook. But that is just off uh little tangent.
I I haven't slept in over 24 hours. And I just wanted to make sure I still got live just to make sure that I talk to you guys about this. And the line between leverage and being, I guess the word I'm looking for is dirty, is a boundary that we need to look at. So make clarifying that boundary, right? Using an advantage is not the same thing as abusing people. And I've said this many times for the concept when I say,
Well, the dividing line between that is simply whether or not it benefits you or not. We're all constantly making exceptions and caveats for the people that we like. Bro, you can see it all day long at work, on social media, on YouTube especially. Is somebody will straight up tear down a community for behaving a way, and then when they start acting that way, everybody completely absolves them. So like, I agree with what you're saying, but I don't even think that that it even needs to be discussed. I mean, because people are going to make exceptions for what they're benefiting from. People are going to make exceptions for what they favor. It's always, I mean, everything ends up being like that.
there's a difference between taking advantage of someone and taking someone for granted. Most people don't know the difference between both those things. The
And you know what? Just to add to that is that, honestly, and this is the reason why I respect you, Ressa, is because although we all can be hypocritical at times, and we all have our own things and whatnot, you try to stay ethically and morally consistent all the way across the board. And the thing is, though, bro, is that I think that sometimes you give that to other people, like that you expect that other people do, because other people wouldn't even stop to consider what you're talking about, bro. Like people don't even people if it's an advantage that can benefit them or benefit somebody they like, fucking take advantage. Like people don't even have fucking morals anymore, dude. Nobody has a moral code anymore. Nobody has an ethical code anymore, like that they actually can recite. So, like, salute to you, bro, because I will acknowledge that. And like I said, this is not this stream is not to pick apart what you're saying because I actually wanted to co-sign what you're saying, but also give my thoughts on it too.
Point is not to become
Oh, what's up, Tyrone? What's up, Tyrone Biggums? Uh, Tyrone Biggums says, "Oh, I think Gatsby got her pregnant. If I'm not mistaken, that's what that whole situation is about. I think Gatsby got old girl pregnant. If I'm not mistaken."
dishonest. The point is to stop pretending being passive is the same thing as being moral. And I don't think a lot of people really pay attention to that. That was my thought, though. That was my quick thought as I was diving into this, because life being unfair is not the end of the conversation. It is the starting point. The real question is whether you are going to keep complaining about the bad hand that you were dealt, or are you going to finally learn how
And
to play
you
the
see,
game?
man, there's so much value to what Riss is saying right here because he's saying for anybody that has the complaint that life is unfair, he's saying, yeah, you're right, life is unfair, but it's also unfair in your to your advantage in certain ways. Have you explored what those ways might be? And once you find them, have you done your best to use them to benefit your life? Which is a fucking incredible message. And I don't want that to be lost. I don't want that to be lost at all that that's what he's saying. I just wanted to, like I said, I wanted to explore a little bit in the weeds of the details.
And I think a lot of people turn around and say, I don't want to take the time to really learn the rules.
Oh yeah, yeah, Tyrone, that's the word. That's the word. I think Gatsby got her pregnant, and they're living happily ever after. I think.
But you have no choice to play this game if you really think that you're going to get something better out of it. That's just my thoughts, though. Because a lot of stuff that we look at, a lot of things that we look in our life, is really shaped on perception, what we perceive about the world around us. Not that the world around us is actually being that thing that we're talking about, but how we perceive it will shape us more. I was thinking about the video that I did recently. So I did a stream first. What was the name of that thing? The name of the stream I did. Oh, I was talking about the things that we leave behind, right? And then I know I was kind of like formulating and going through in my own mind about all that different stuff in real time for the stream. And then I thought I would go back and watch the stream and then kind of clean some things up, and I dropped a video about it. And it's just so interesting. Like when you're even being very clear, very candid about the position that you're taking, how many times you're going to have discussions about things that were not even mentioned.
This is honestly so uh interesting to me about wrestlers commentary style, but it's almost like he doesn't realize that everybody is taking in information from their own individual perspective, and therefore any bit of information he gives is going to therefore create all kinds of inquiries, especially if it's an inquisitive mind on the other side of the information. So, like, of course you're going to, and that's the reason why it's important to be. That's the reason, and I'm sure Russell would agree with this. That this is the reason why it's important to know what you're talking about and not just parrot what you're talking about, because that's the beauty of discourse. That's the whole reason why we do this, at least in my opinion, is for those things that you didn't think of. Those, because it's easy to have, it's easy to lay out a point of view and only allow people to engage with it based on the points that you have strictly laid out. But if you want actual growth, in my opinion, if you want actual growth, then you have to allow other people to digest that information how they do, and then add or uh, engage the way that they will. I mean, because that's expected, in my opinion. Of course, because you don't know how. Like, if I start talking about Tyrone's bicycle, like, you might know Tyrone, or you might know stuff about bicycles that I don't know, or you might have had a flat tire on your bicycle that day, or like any millions of reasons of why a person's uh, response is going to lead you away from your like directly laid out talking points.
And this is the thing about people. This is why I tell a lot of people I don't worry about what people are really saying about me. Like, there's no way I'm ever gonna walk in or walk out of a situation and not be looked at as the bad guy. That's not that's not for me to control. I can't control whether somebody doesn't like me because it has nothing to do with me at the end of the day.
Amen, bro. And believe me, dog, while we don't walk the same path in life, I 100% relate to that, dude. And believe me, more people undermine every word that I say than you could even imagine, bro. Like, but what's crazy is that they won't even do it out loud to me. Like, people will, there's whole groups, and it's crazy, man. It's insane. It's psychotic. It's disgusting. It's pathetic. Oh, what's up, Whitney? Salute and welcome in. Yeah, he's still streaming. This is just from like the other day. But I feel you on what you're talking about, Resla. I feel you, bro, because there's a whole campaign to make sure that anything and everything that I say is taken in the worst possible way that it can be, and nothing could ever possibly be learned from me, and no good could ever possibly come out of anything I say. When if people could understand, if people could just learn how to separate the message from the messenger, like, I get it that people don't like me, but I also have a unique perspective, and I'm willing to think deeply about things, and people could possibly, maybe possibly, uh, benefit from engaging with me. But that's not that's not the way it's ever going to be for me. Whitney says people don't. Well, I like you, Whitney. I like you, so that might not count for much, but I hope it counts for something.
It has everything to do with them. And it is not your job or my job to defend yourself against their straw men. Just at some point, you just gotta leave them where they're at. You can just say, I tried, but I'm not going to stay here with you. I'm not going to waste my time, because that's the way how some people are. And I think I should probably have a conversation, a deeper conversation about this at some point. Because when I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking about
Yeah, you're exactly right, Russell. That's what, bro. I a long time ago, I made my mind that I honestly I don't even care at all about what anybody says. But you see, and oftentimes people confuse the two. I will think about what people say. I will come on live stream and I will discuss it, and I'll even react to it in an animated, over dramatic way. Sometimes if I feel like that's funny to me, but caring about something and thinking about something are not the same. Whitney says same. You see, and to me that's the most intelligent thing to do is to think about everything. Think about everything, but don't be considerate and don't adopt everything like as if it's your own words. Uh, Especially whenever you're dealing with people online.
people that I've even engaged with on social media, and not necessarily the people per se, but rather the behavior. And I'm thinking about multiple people, and I'm noticing that there are things.
You know, I will say this, man, and one day I might actually like sit down and break this down in a way that might help some people. But even the people that you clash with online, man, there are some of those people that have very high value or that can have very high value if they are actually people. But we're not even dealing with people at this point. We're dealing with unnamed archetypes. We're dealing with unacknowledged archetypes, man. People have literally surrendered, forfeited their personhood to just just blob into this amalgamation of popularity and trends and political correct bullshit. Like, and it's so fucking crazy because I know I'm looked at like the biggest asshole because of the way that I tell people straight up like I don't like y'all and I don't fuck with you and all that stuff, man. And I'm cool with that because that's what it takes to protect my mindset. But the moment that you start giving people online, like they're like you just everybody's would be so much better suited, better served to consider everybody online a bot until they prove that they have a soul or like that they have humanity. Because, dude, I grew up in y'all have heard like what type of life that I had. I swear to God, people online are 100 times more evil, more disgusting, more vile, more just fucking empty than any of the bad people that I came across in my whole entire life in person. And it's so crazy because like there's an experiment where they put people like they put one side like they took a bunch of volunteers and they halved them, and some were the patient and some were like the doctor's assistant, and they put this button on the table and they were playing a recording of somebody being electrocuted, and every time that person pressed the button it appeared that they're electrocuting somebody. And at first people resisted, but because the doctor kept telling them to do it, or like the doctor was okay with it or whatever, the people started like getting a kick out of it. And the next thing you know, like people are just like straight up frying the fucking people just cause. That's the world that we live in. We now live in a society with our fucking finger just stuck on the fryer, just stuck on the electrocutor, not giving a fuck about anybody else's humanity, not being able to empathize with anybody else, not even giving a fuck. Like literally just in a constant state of who fucking cares. And it's crazy, man. Yeah, exactly. Sheep. Exactly. Whitney, just sheep, man. Everybody's just asleep at the wheel.
Linked. And the funny part about it is that it's not a social media thing. It's a thing that I think we can all see in general when we're with people in life. So, damn, I wish I had thought about this ahead of time. But I guess I could try to formulate it now, and then I'll think about what this needs to be in the future. What's on my mind when I'm considering this right now is the aspect of it's a challenge the way how I'm looking at it. But the idea of people not understanding the difference between anger and hate.
That's an excellent point. And also not just anger and hate, that's an important conversation, but also criticism and hate. Criticism is a very useful thing. Like criticism, honestly, man, that's one of the most important characteristics that you need the most important person in your life to have is the ability to critique you properly, not unfairly, not out of envy or jealousy, fairly, in order to help you to rein it in when you're doing too much, in order to help you to stay. You see, me, myself, and a lot of you guys probably could relate to this, but one of the biggest detriments to my life has been the fact of sometimes I have been surrounded by people that improperly critique me. And because of that, it's really damaged who I was at the time. And that's why you need to start like need to learn how to set proper boundaries and need to learn like yourself, need to gain an understanding of what your motives are, what your mission is, what you're trying to accomplish and stuff like that. But oftentimes whenever people get criticized, they think that that's hate or they think that that's even anger. You see, I'm of the mindset that you can critique and you can receive criticism and it not be emotional like that. You know? Yes, Whitney, yes, exactly. Not just kids, people. People are too soft, man. Like the thing is that excuse me. Everybody has the runaway or cover their head mentality about all of life. The moment that you say something that somebody doesn't like, they turn you into a hater. They turn you into opposition. They turn you into a naysayer. They turn you into a op. But it's like, bro, how do you ever hold on to anybody? And you see, that's another reason why I completely just dumped every person that I was in communication with online because all people are online, like everybody online is like that, is that they don't realize the value of holding on to somebody that does or says things that you don't agree with, does or says things that you don't see the same way or whatever. Nowadays, there's so many people and you can exchange people so quickly. The moment that somebody does something in opposition to what you're doing or what you're saying or what you're uh whatever your narrative is, people just throw them away.
And there's an addiction part that also flies into this as well. Now, this could be people online. This could be people that you don't really necessarily know, but they could be acquaintances of people that you know. These are the people that you actually work with. But the idea is that if someone is already bothered in their own life, they will look for reasons for anyone to push their um anger towards, to focus towards that thing. I'm thinking about Final Fantasy right now. There is a common in
Yes, what Reslas is saying is true, but you have to be able to use your discernment to understand that not everybody that has something to say that you're going to consider negative has an agenda, or is, maybe sometimes they're just spitting what they see as the truth. So, like, I'm just saying, yeah, what Russ is saying can be true. Sometimes it's that person's issue, and sometimes it's this going on, and but sometimes, man, you have to be able to acknowledge that sometimes people just want to critique you because they care, because they don't want you repeating the same mistake, or because they don't want, uh, because they see an answer that you don't, or whatnot. It isn't always this reason of why, like, that's the thing. We're almost completely unable to stand on the same area as somebody that disagrees with us and just exist simultaneously. Like, if you have to do something to cancel them out, or you have to do something to negate what they're saying, and it's like, nah, man. That's the reason why I don't mind taking L's. That's the reason why, like, all that's the reason why people have such a messed up perception of me, because in all reality, it's not not my place to go and correct all this, and or to undermine everybody that has something bad to say. The bottom line is that the truth will stand as a totality when it's all said and done.
enemy, a common monster that's seen throughout all the Final Fantasy games. It's called a Toneberry. It's a little green, ball headed, gold eye, somewhere crowned, some don't. It wears like a hoodie, moves incredibly slow, just baby steps that it takes. But it's incredibly dangerous. It walks around with a lantern and a chef's knife, and it will shake the lantern, which will bring out some kind of mystical smoke that will try to reach out, fly out, and bind the person in place to try to keep them from running. And this Toneberry, who moves very small, very slow, elderly steps, you can even say, is creeping to you, and it feels like death. And I think some people carry this energy in them. Now, like, here's why I'm also putting it towards the aspect of a Toneberry. That one hit that it will use, that one strike of that chef knife that it would use, is instant death.
Damn, that's quite the visual, right? That's quite the visual that he just painted out with that very simple concept. That's quite the visual right there.
Instant. One hit a quitter. It will immediately put you down. One hit, you're just wiped out. Just normal hit, take you out. No questions asked. And the funny part about it is that that's not even its strongest move. It's not its strongest ability. Its strongest ability that people need to watch out for is something that is called everyone's grudge. And the way how I'm going to relate that to this is, there are people that, because life is just not working out too well for them, because they are so fixated on other people, they are so fixated in all the things that they're not doing, they are so fixated on worrying about other people and everything's woe is them, and they've given up. But there's
See, that is the bro. Like, if you want to know the quickest way to poison every single aspect of life is to be worried about anything other than yourself. And I know that the you get painted out as selfish. Let me say it like this, man. Selflessness is a selflessness is something for people that can afford it. And that might sound like a very selfish thing to say. I've been told that I'm selfish because I'm not all up in everybody's business, but I feel like it's not my place to be all up in everybody's business, man. And if you're too worried about everybody else, like I used to make this analogy of where like Americans, I feel like Americans all are the type that would sit at their kitchen table with the house on fire, uh, talking about how the house burning around them, talking about how Trump this and Biden that. And that's the trap, man. That's the trap of gossip, dude. Like, and it's so crazy to me how nobody sees it. Like, it's just so blatantly clear, you know? And like, nobody can exit that. People still just, and I swear to God, man, the Discord, degenerate, evil scumbags, and y'all know who y'all are, man. Y'all are the scourge of earth to me because all y'all do is sit around and gossip, man, and that's like the worst thing that you can do about anything, man. Yeah, that's the way Americans are. That's the way most people are, man. People want to gossip about everything other than the things that are going on in their life. People want to gossip about everything that's going on with Tom, Dick, and Harry, but they don't want to. They don't want to gossip about what's going on with themselves. They don't want to hear nobody talking about what's going on with them. And that's the trap that all this social media, or it ain't even media, man. Like, if you're not up to date on how much of this shit is AI, just like I've been saying for years now. But like AI, social media, it's all hit a crossroads to where this shit ain't even real no more, bro. Like you can't, you don't know what's actually news, and you don't know what's just straight up fairy tales. And it would serve everybody better to consider it all fairy tales. When he says I can't stand AI, I love AI. I think AI is amazing, but it's taken over most of the world. Oh man, the thing that I was waiting on just came through, so I got to cut this short, guys. I was waiting on something, and it just locked in right now. Whitney, thank you so much for coming by and chatting with me. It's always so nice to see you. Reslas, salute to you, bro. Hope that you don't take this as any kind of uh me talking shit or anything bad like that. I want mobile phones to disappear. Shoot, I went a long time without a phone. I was without a phone for at least like a year or two, and that honestly, that was like some of the best times I had. But yeah, we might revisit this, man. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if I'm gonna be streaming. I don't know when or what. It's just gonna be sporadic. Uh, because most that's the thing too, man, is that I need to like find a way to break into a new audience because most of y'all are the gossipy, backstabbing, vulturous pieces of shit that I can't stand. And I make no I'm not gonna make any kind of uh whatever excuses or mince words about that shit. But some of y'all do like Y'all know who y'all are. Whitney, thank you so much for stopping by. And I will talk to you guys soon. Remember, there's your side, there's her side, and there's the blind side. Blind side news. Y'all be good. I'm out of here. Peace.